Queen E6 blunder of Abdusattorov, Norderbeck in SuperBet Poland 2024 Rapid and Blitz in round number 5. Hello my fellow chessers. I'm gonna show to you, my fellow chessers, the chess game between Magnus Carlson and Abdusattorov, Norderbeck Abdusattorov in SuperBet Poland 2024 Rapid and Blitz round number 5. So let's begin from the top. So wait a minute. So let's begin on E4, E5, Knight F3. Knight F6, my fellow chessers. This is, what's this? Petrov defense. So D4, and then knight takes E4. And then bishop D3 attacking the knight on E4. So D5 depending upon the knight on E4, and then knight takes E5, and then knight G7 attacking the knight on E4, and then knight takes D7, then bishop takes D7, and then knight D2, knight F6, castles kingside, and then bishop E7, and then H3, and then castles kingside, and then knight F3, and then rook E1 controlling the file on E5 by Norderbeck Abdusattorov. So rook E1, and then C5, and then C3, and then queen B6. What's the idea of queen B6? So connect these two rooks and attack at the same time the B2 pawn. So let's continue on A4, and then C takes D4, and then A5 attacking the queen on B6, my fellow chessers. So let's continue on queen C7, then knight takes D4, and then bishop C5 attacking the knight on G4, and then rook takes E8, rook takes E8, and then A6 advancing. Whoa! So B takes A6, and then rook takes A6. Wow! And then bishop B6, then bishop E3, and then knight E4, bishop takes E4, D takes E4, and then knight C2, bishop B5 attacking the rook on A6, and then bishop takes B6. Ooh, and then A takes B6, and then rook A3. Why he did not take the rook on A6? So because we have this, my fellow chessers. So let's continue the game from the A takes B6, and then rook A3, and then rook D8 attacking the queen on G1. And let's see the queen A1, and then bishop C6, and then rook A7, then queen F4, and then queen E1, and then H5, my fellow chessers, creating a bomb in this side. My fellow chessers. So let's continue on knight G4 attacking the bishop on C6, and then bishop G5, and then queen E3 attacking the queen on F4, and then queen F6, rook A4, and then H4, then rook B4, and then bishop B7, and then rook A4, then G6, and then rook A7, and then bishop D5, and then queen H6. Oh, bishop C4, the rook C7, then bishop D5, rook A7, then bishop C4, queen E3, bishop G5, rook A1, bishop D7, bishop B7, rook D1, king H7, queen C1, bishop A6, and then knight C2, and then bishop D3, and then knight B4, and then bishop C4, rook takes D8, queen takes D8, and then queen F4, and then F5, and then knight C6, queen F6, and then queen C7, king H6, and then knight G4, bishop G5, and then queen F4. Check, my fellow chessers. So king g7, queen c7, king h6, and then b4, and then f4, and then queen d7, and then queen e5, and then queen g8, and then e3, and then queen takes h4, and then king g7, then f takes e3, f takes e3, and then knight e2, and then b5. Mistake of Norderbeck, my fellow chessers. The best continuation in this position is queen e4 only, my fellow chessers, challenging the white queen, my fellow chessers, to maintain the draw. Draw line, drawish. So b5, queen f4, threatening queen to queen, my fellow chessers, but queen e6, blunder of Norderbeck, Abdusattorov, my fellow chessers. The best continuation in this position is queen e4 only, my fellow chessers. Okay, so let's continue on. Queen e6, blunder of Norderbeck, Abdusattorov, queen g4, because we have queen g4 check, my fellow chessers, and then king h7, and we have knight f4, as you can see, my fellow chessers, fork, my fellow chessers. And this is at the same time attacking the queen on g5, the bishop on g5, attacking the queen on bishop g5. So let's continue on e2, and then knight takes, sacrificing the knight. So knight takes e2, queen takes e2, queen takes d5, and then queen e3 check, my fellow chessers. So king h2, and then queen f4, g3, and then queen e3, my fellow chessers. Why? If you take this, we have queen g2, as you can see, my fellow chessers. And we continue the game on queen e3, and then queen g4, queen e2. That so many. That's the game, my fellow chessers. I will speed it up. Dun, 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 dun. Queen, king, and queen. That's the game, my fellow chessers. As you can see, I will fast forward in this situation. And then that's the Magnus can do, my fellow chessers. Magnus is one of the best and strongest player in the world, my fellow chessers. And queen f7, then queen f4, and then queen c4, queen g4, queen c7, then king e4, and then king g6, king g5, then king f7, queen e5. That's the game. And then after queen to d6, my fellow chessers, Norderbeck Abdusattorov resigns the game, my fellow chessers, because if we continue the game, example, we have queen takes g4, we have queen e7 or queen d5, or taking this side, my fellow chessers. As you can see, Magnus Carlsen is leading pawn on c3 and b4.